This man claims that he's been fasting for 9 years straight, eating no solid foods whatsoever and only drinking liquids. But apparently, that is only the beginning, because he says that he is planning to do this for the next 40 years straight, all the way up until the year 2056. Self-proclaimed Apostle Marcelino from Angola, also known as Prophet Elijah, has actually become a bit of a Christian celebrity. In fact, on this TikTok account, which appears to belong to him, he has nearly 500,000 followers, and he regularly gets millions of views. But apart from his sermons, worship songs, and even prophecies about world events like World War III, what's made Apostle Marcelino especially well known is his acts of faith. He says that in 2016, God instructed him to survive only on liquids for the next 40 years because why not? And 9 years later, he's apparently still going. At least that's what they're claiming. But, maybe God didn't specify the exact type of liquids that he could consume. Or maybe he has been drinking water, and it's a miracle. But he's also done other public demonstrations like going on his knees and praying for 30 days straight. So the big question is, do you guys believe him or not? Kenya, you might have a war coming your way because the president of Uganda, Kenya's landlocked neighbor, just said that the Indian Ocean belongs to him and that if he doesn't get guaranteed access, they will face wars.
That ocean belongs to me because where is my ocean? I'm entitled to that ocean. In future, we are going to have wars. In future, we are going to have wars. How can you say?
Now, only hours after he made these threats, the country's defense chief, who is actually also the president's son, said that Kenya must grant us swift access to the Indian Ocean because it rightfully belongs to us, and that in the future there will be very big problems if they do not respect our wishes. This is also the same general who got in big trouble for previously saying it wouldn't even take 2 weeks for him and his army to capture Nairobi. Now, Kenyans have mostly responded with sarcasm, advising Museveni to take some water from the ocean and make his own ocean in Uganda. But here's where things get a little bit more serious, because it's not only Uganda talking about war because of access to the sea. Just last month, Ethiopia, the world's most populated landlocked country, accused Eritrea of actively preparing for war. This is partly because Ethiopia has been pursuing access to the sea for the last 32 years, ever since Eritrea declared independence from Ethiopia in 1993. But Uganda's president also said that war is not the only way, saying that if African countries want to contend with the world, they must unite and collaborate so that they too can do big things like, and he says this, go to the moon. So the question is, are we looking at future ocean wars in Africa, or will they be able to find another way? The BBC could be in big trouble. Shocking new leaked documents allege the BBC deliberately misled viewers by doctoring footage of Trump, making him appear to encourage the January 6 riots. Quote, they completely misled viewers by showing the president telling supporters he was going to walk to the Capitol with them to fight like hell.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you, and we fight. We fight like hell.
When in fact, he said that he would walk with them to, quote, peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. The documents claim that the BBC deliberately excluded that section. In fact, the version they aired comprises of 2 separate parts of his speech, nearly an hour apart, edited together. But it doesn't end there. The internal whistleblower memo seen by The Telegraph also claims 9 more occasions the BBC displayed anti-Trump bias during the election, as well as failing to report objectively on a range of other issues too. And why this is significant is because not only is the BBC by a large margin the most visited news provider in the world, but also, according to surveys, one of the most trusted too. However, Michael Prescott, the man behind this memo, and the former advisor to the BBC's editorial guidelines and standards committee, claimed that senior executives and the BBC's chairman ignored and dismissed a string of serious complaints which were raised by the corporation's own standards watchdog. He said that he was moved to act and make this public out of despair at inaction by the BBC's executives when issues came to light. The BBC has responded to this by saying, while we don't comment on leaked documents, when the BBC receives feedback, it takes it seriously and considers it carefully. So the question is, what do you guys think? Bill Gates just shocked everyone after making a claim about climate change that no one expected. You see, yesterday he published a long essay titled 3 Tough Truths About Climate, in which he stated, as truth 1, that climate change will not lead to humanity's demise, and that people will be able to live and thrive in most places on Earth for the foreseeable future. In truth 2, he said that sometimes human welfare takes a backseat to lowering emissions with bad consequences, and that because of this, resources need to be shifted away from the battle against against climate change and focus towards preventing disease and hunger because, quote, climate change is not the biggest threat to the lives and livelihoods of people in poor countries, and it won't be in the future. And as part of his third and final truth, he said that he wished that there was enough money to fund every climate change idea, but there isn't. And that up until this point, too much good money has been put into expensive and questionable efforts, ultimately claiming that money spent on health and prosperity is our best defense against climate change. But the reason this is so significant is because of the influence Bill Gates has in the climate sector. So when he makes recommendations like this, people in positions of power and the ability to do things tend to listen to him. So will this trigger a shift away from climate funding? Will this have an impact on how activists speak about climate change? Or will this ultimately just get brushed off and debunked? Okay guys, you need to know what is happening in Cameroon right now because this shit is blowing my mind. So they just re-elected the world's oldest head of state for his 8th term. Paul Biya is 92 years old, and the term that he just won could see him stay in power until he's nearly 100. He took office in 1982, and he's been in power ever since. He even abolished presidential term limits in 2008. And actually, here's what's crazy. You know when Trump wasn't seen in publicly for 3 days, and the rumors about him dying went crazy? Well, for Paul, he's on another level. Last year, bro wasn't seen publicly for 6 weeks. And that's not even unusual. The rumors of him dying have been going on for 2 decades because he disappears so often, mostly to Switzerland, actually. And anyway, after him winning, at least 10 petitions alleging electoral malpractice have been rejected by the country's constitutional council. And while I do want to make this clear, there is support and there has been celebration of his victory in Cameroon, there has also been deadly protests and resistance against this. So on Sunday, hundreds of people defied protest bans in several cities across the country, and it's led to the death of 4 people. And today, that unrest and that violence has continued. But unless there is a Nepal-level revolution, Paul is here to stay. Bro, the FBI director and his girlfriend whole situation is actually insane. So the whole crash out started when information leaked from the FBI that its director, 45-year-old Kash Patel, used a $60 million private jet to go watch his 26-year-old girlfriend sing the national anthem at a wrestling match. Now, the internet was in uproar about this, especially since it's during a government shutdown. And honestly, this must have struck a nerve because Kash then took to Twitter to write this. He said that uninformed internet anarchists are spreading baseless rumors and that going after people in his personal life is a total disgrace. Kash said that the disgusting attacks against his girlfriend Alexis are beyond pathetic and that she has done more for this nation than most will in 10 lifetimes. He called her a rock-solid conservative and a country music sensation, which I guess is open for interpretation. Bro, the crash out was so intense that he even started turning on the brothers, saying, and to our supposed allies staying silent, your silence is louder than the clickbait haters. Bro is pissed. But it gets even crazier because even more information started coming out today reporting that Kash grew so outraged by the news stories about his private jet use that the head of the FBI's critical response group, which is responsible for overseeing the agency's fleet of jets, has now been fired. Bro worked at the FBI for 27 years. The FBI's assistant director for public affairs defended Kash, saying that the FBI directors, they're actually mandated to travel using a government plane, even on personal travel, saying that they're actually banned from flying commercial. He also claimed that Kash pays upfront reimbursement on all personal travel. So the question is, was this crash out fair, or was Kash's use of this private jet wrong?